Welcome to episode 16 of the Reading Finnegans Wake in 200 Sessions podcast, where we analyze Finnegans Wake by James Joyce 3 pages at a time. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Hello, you curious listener, and welcome back. Today, we're diving deep, really deep, into pages 55 to 57 of James Joyce's Finnegans Wake. It's quite a journey we're embarking on.
Absolutely. 3 dense pages.
Right. Our mission, well, it's to navigate this amazing dreamlike text, pulling out what we can about identity, memory, and the main man himself, HCE Humphrey Chimpton Earwicker.
He's certainly central here.
He is, and we're going to trace how his character, or maybe his characters, plural, kind of unfold through this fascinating chain of retellings and, well, different takes on his story.
It's all about the retelling in these pages.
Exactly. Now, we know Finnegans Wake is famously challenging, but look, we're here to guide you through the, let's call it, delightful chaos. We'll focus on the layers of meaning our sources help us uncover. Think of it as maybe a shortcut.
A guided tour, perhaps?
A guided tour, yes, through a masterpiece. So are you ready?
I definitely am.
Yeah, me too. And I think it's good to set the stage for you, our listener, right away. These pages, they're not just part of the wake. They're kind of a masterclass in how stories shift and change.
How they transform.
Yeah, across time, different tellers, even inside one person's head. Joyce isn't just telling a story. He's actively, questioning what fact even means. How reliable is history? And what's really striking, almost paradoxical, is the sheer amount of detail he gives us. It's incredibly specific, almost granular.
Overwhelming sometimes.
It can be. But all this detail, instead of building up into solid facts, it often adds up to what the text itself later calls unfacts.
Unfacts. That's a key term here.
It really is. It's like he's deliberately blurring things.
Yeah.
And we're going to explore why that approach is so powerful for understanding memory, how myths get made, and, well, how we even figure out who we are. Okay, let's dive in then. Let's unpack this, starting right at the beginning of our passage. Danis Rose, in our sources, kicks things off with a statement that feels, well, absolutely central.
What does he say?
He says, "Identity is an unstable and uncertain thing. It is well known that the normal human physiognomy alters its shape with the passing of the years."
Not just about getting older, is it?
Not at all. It feels like an invitation, doesn't it? To see HCE not as one fixed guy, but as someone constantly shifting, maybe deliberately so.
In flux.
Exactly. We meet this teller of tales in a garden, and right away, the narrator isn't sure who he really is. His old self is hidden under a layer of time-grown warts, patches, and wrinkles, not to mention a large fungus or beard.
A fungus or beard. Great image.
It is, but it's more than just physical appearance, right? It's a metaphor for HCE's shifting persona, how his past and present just keep merging and separating. What's the immediate signal here about memory and identity in the wake?
Well, it's exactly what you said, that physical blurring is our window into the psychological blurring, the historical blurring, that's just fundamental to the whole book.
So the outside reflects the inside.
Precisely. The narrator's uncertainty, the face hidden by time and fungus. It visually shows how memory itself becomes this layered thing in Joyce, almost geological.
Like layers of rock.
Kind of, yeah. His obscured appearance reflects that deep instability, questioning who he is if he ever was just one stable person. And what's fascinating is how Joyce immediately connects this personal flux to something much bigger, cosmic almost.
How so?
We get that incredible line, "The house of Atriox is fallen in dust, but deeds bounds going arise again." Suddenly we're in Greek mythology.
The house of Atreus. Curses, downfall.
All of it. A foundational myth. But Joyce plays with it in dust. It's in the dust, like literally falling into ruin. But also indeed, it confirms the fall.
But then the next bit, deeds bounds going arise again.
Right, that's the counterpoint. It signals that whole fall-rise cycle that runs all through the wake. It's very Viconian.
Vico's cycles of history.
Exactly. Structures fall, dynasties crumble, people die, but the stories, that the deeds bounds, they keep going. They're bound to come back up.
And the language itself does that too, right? With words like Finnana and Mundybanks.
Oh, absolutely. Finnana, you've got Fenny, which is boggy Irish landscape right there. Then Fianna, Finn McCool's warriors, ancient myth, and probably Anna for Analythi.
All in one word.
It's incredible. And Mundybanks, Muddy River Banks, obviously, but also German Mund, for mouth the river speaking, and then mountebank.
A charlatan, a trickster.
Yeah, so maybe the stories coming from the land, from the river, aren't entirely trustworthy either. They might be distorted, tricky. It's a whole universe in a sound, like you said.
It really is. It forces you to listen in a completely different way. And speaking of these big cyclical ideas, we get that statement attributed to HCE himself. It feels like a real pronouncement.
Which one is that?
Life is awake, live it, or cricket, and on the bunk of our breadwinning lies the crops of our seed father. Wow. That feels like the whole book in a nutshell.
It's dense, all right. Let's break it down.
Okay, wake straight away. You've got the funeral watch, right? Mourning, remembering, but also waking up, rebirth, and the track a boat leaves, memory again.
Death, life, memory, all there.
Then live it or cricket, like live it or die, take it or leave it, but also cricket, the game.
Yeah, adds a touch to the ordinary, the English pastime.
But the real kicker is crops, corks and crops, death and harvest side by side.
The opposition is stark.
And where is this crops? On the bunk of our breadwinning? Bunk like a bed or a coffin. Breadwinning is just earning a living, our daily grind.
So our life, our sustenance, is literally built on or contains death and rebirth.
And this connects directly to Osiris, right? According to Fweet and Danis Rose,
Right.
the Egyptian god of grain.
Exactly. Osiris is key, the god who dies and is reborn like the grain germinating each year. It mirrors the seasons.
And they actually put grain Osirises in tombs, little figures filled with mud and seeds.
They did. To ensure the dead person's rebirth. Like that quote from the Book of Breathing, "Thy material body doth germinate." The hope was that the body itself would sprout new life.
So HCE, he's not just fallen, he's like Osiris, always rising again, always germinating in the story.
That's the idea. He's perpetually being reborn within the narrative. His identity is constantly renewing itself. It suggests this incredible resilience, maybe even hope, doesn't it? That every ending contains a new beginning.
It does feel hopeful, but maybe also relentless?
Well, that's the other side of the cycle, isn't it? It's inescapable. It's not just one death and rebirth. It's constant. HCE becomes the symbol of life regenerating from its own decay.
Which ties back to identity being unstable. If he's always dying and being reborn.
Then he's never just one thing. He's always multiple, always in process. And that seed father idea is so potent. Even in death, he's the source of new life, new stories, new identities.
So every story about him is like a new sprout from the crops.
Exact. It's a very organic way of thinking about how history and memory work. Not linear, but like a field, constantly regenerating. Makes you think about our own histories, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How much is just interpretation, constantly evolving?
It really does. Okay, so now things get really interesting because the text says HCE's story is never to be forgotten. Sounds permanent, right?
Implies a fixed truth.
But then, boom, Joyce immediately gives us multiple shifting retellings. It feels like the core mechanism for undermining any single truth, like watching ripples spread out.
Deliberately destabilizing.
So the first retelling happens later in the century. It's done by one of that Pusey band of fact ferreters who rehearsed it. Peasney, like a junior judge, already sounds a bit iffy.
Inferior, yeah. In fact, ferreters, they're digging around, maybe not objectively.
Right. And the teller himself, he's an ex-civilly retired hurt under the 65s Act, a former civil servant, maybe fired from the custom house.
Which adds potential bias right away. Our sources mention that Joyce anecdote about Jim Tully.
Oh yeah, the clerk out of the custom house.
Exactly. So this narrator isn't neutral. He's bringing his own baggage, his own potential bitterness to the story. It colors everything.
So even before he speaks, we're kind of doubting him.
We absolutely should be. The ferreting, the coup status, the personal history, it all frames his story as potentially skewed. And Joyce doubles down by describing him in hilarious detail. His clothes.
Tell us about the clothes.
Okay. In a dressy black, modern style, and wears shiny tan Burlingtons. Damn. Homden Dickey, Copricos, and P-Jagged. It's quite a look.
Let's break that down. Burlingtons. Shoes.
Yeah, like Blazes Boylan's tan shoes and Ulysses. Already hints at maybe being a bit flashy, maybe unreliable like Boylan.
Okay. And the rest?
Tam is a Scottish cap. Homd is German for shirt. A Dickey is that fake shirt front.
A bit formal, but maybe not substantial.
Could be. Copricos is playing on quid pro quo, something for something. Suggests maybe his storytelling is transactional, calculated.
And P-Jog.
P-jacket, like a sailor wears. Tough. But also German jag for hunt. So maybe aggressively hunting for details. And notice the stammer.
Ooh, war.
Like HCE sometimes stammers.
Exactly. It links the teller to the person he's talking about. And he's pippa-pointing with a pipe, like the cad with the pipe. Another gossipy, maybe dubious figure.
Wow. And who's listening to this?
His audience is a name cousin of the late Archdeacon FX Preserved Coppinger.
Okay, FX sounds Catholic. but preserved Coppinger.
That's a fantastic name. Think preserved ginger, which, according to Twelfth Night, is hot in the mouth. Suggests this archdeacon was maybe a bit of a rake, despite the collar.
Hot stuff, you mean?
Pretty much. Mastic is chewing gum, but also means mercy theologically, so maybe he needed mercy for his appetites. And then there's Cruel Coppinger, the Viking guy from the ballad.
Who tied his wife to the bedpost. Okay, so definitely not a saintly audience member.
Far from it. Which leads to this sadder circumstance, which is a dirk and dirk heart skewer, if ever to bring bouncing brimmers from marbled eyes.
German durch und durch, through and through, like a dagger, a dirk, piercing the heart. Really intense grief. And brimmers, eyes overflowing with tears, like full glasses. But also maybe like children's marbles mixing sorrow and innocence.
So the whole scene is just dripping with unreliability and melodrama.
Absolutely. It's pure performance. A web of hints and doubts spun around HCE's story.
It is a performance, and the stage for the next retelling is just as theatrical, isn't it? It happens in a Pullwoman of our first Trans-Hibernian.
Right. A Pullman car suggests travel, luxury. But Trans-Hibernian, it's an Irish journey, even if it echoes the Trans-Siberian.
A journey through Ireland, but also time.
And culture, yeah. And that view from the window is just iconic. The passengers, the run-risers, German for tours, they're looking cycloptically through the window discs and with eddying awes.
Cycloptically, like a cyclops, round-eyed.
Yeah, looking through those round windows, totally awestruck. It's almost a mythic way of seeing. And they're sitting back-to-back, buck-to-bucker on their Irish chanting car.
Like an old Irish jaunting car, facing outwards. Such a vivid image.
It really is. And what they see out there with their intouristing interestedness, nice wordplay.
Interesting and interested.
It is basically the Viconian cycle laid bare. It's a core idea in the wake.
How so? What do they see?
They see the clad pursue the bear the green the frore the clad again.
Okay, that sounds like seasons.
Exactly. Or Vigo's 4 stages of history. Autumn, clad with leaves. Summer, bare. Spring, green. Winter, frore, frozen. It's history repeating, right there outside the train window.
Wow. The landscape itself is showing the philosophy.
Totally. And it's all happening around the Gigantic's life tree, Yggdrasil, the Norse world tree.
The center of everything.
Right. Described as our fire-leaved, lever-lucky Blomsterbaum phoenix in our woodlessness. Let's unpack that.
Please do. Fire-leaved.
Maybe plantain leaves, used for healing. Or autumn colors. Lever-lucky. Definitely a 4-leaved clover. Good luck. Very Irish.
And Blomsterbaum.
Danish Blomster for flowers. Plus German-Dutch Baumboom for tree. A universal tree, but rooted. And it's a phoenix.
Rising from the ashes.
Even in our woodlessness, which is a sad nod to Ireland's deforestation. So even when things are destroyed, the life force, the story, comes back.
So it's a cosmic story of decay and renewal playing out constantly.
Pretty much. The train car is like humanity traveling through these cycles. The cycloptic gaze is maybe history's eye, always watching, always reinterpreting. And that tree, the phoenix, the woodlessness, its resilience.
Hopeful, but sad about what's lost.
Exactly. And it ties HCE to the land, to Ireland's history, its cycles. He's part of this universal myth. The setting isn't just background, it's shaping the story.
Okay, so building on this theatrical feel, the Archdeacon's cousin, the hot stuff, one steps up. He's called Arcatinus.
Nice anagram of Dean Cadinus from Swiss poem. Sets a satirical tone.
Right, and he's policing aside his Irish field and craving their auriculars to receptacle particulars, putting down his newspaper.
The Irish Field and Gentleman's Gazette,
Okay.
pausing the everyday.
And asking for their ears, auriculars, to receive the details. It really emphasizes the performance aspect again, doesn't it?
It's a show. He's demanding attention for his version.
And there's even a hint of historical drama coming, that bump at Castlebar.
The Castlebar races, yeah.
Mm.
The British running from the French in 1798 sets a scene of national importance potential conflict.
Then we get this incredibly dense bit about the performance itself. A new reading of the part whereby, because of Dias in his Machina, the new Garrixes grimacing grimaldism hypostasized by substantiation the axiomatic orotundity of that once grand old Elrington ball. Phew.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. Let's try and unpick it.
Please. Dias in his Machina.
Play on Deus ex machina divine intervention. But Dias could be Zeus, or even number 2. Adds layers.
Okay. Garrickson's grimacing grimaldism.
David Garrick, the famous actor known for pulling faces, and Joseph Grimoli, the famous clown. So exaggerated performance, maybe mimicry.
Hypostasized by substantiation.
Basically means embodied or impersonated by substituting one thing for another.
And this performance embodies the axiomatic orotundity.
The powerful, clear, rounded voice, or rotundo, like Daniel O'Connell, the great orator. And it replaces the grand old Elrington ball, Thomas Elrington, another old Dublin actor.
So it's saying the memory of HCE isn't fixed history. It's constantly reenacted, reperformed by different actors, different styles.
Exactly. Each performance changes the truth. It makes any single truth incredibly hard to grasp.
Almost impossible by design?
I think so. It's not about finding the one story, but exploring the many ways it gets told and how each telling reshapes HCE. The theatrical names underline that history is an interpretive act.
And this leads to a really vivid picture of HCE, doesn't it?
Oh, incredibly vivid. The listeners aren't just hearing, they're time-sported, of course, the yawning abyss. It's like falling into history's depths.
The Janunga Gap from Norse myth, Shakespeare's abysm of time.
All of that. A journey into deep time.
Yeah.
And they're listening to the Cockshy Shooter's evensong evocation of the doomed but always ventriloquent agitator.
Cockshy Shooter. What's that?
It's brilliant. Mixes cocksure, confident, with gun-shy, nervous. And cockshut is twilight, when you knit birds. So, confidence, fear, fading light, all in one.
Sets a mood. An evensong evocation.
Like a solemn twilight prayer calling up a memory. And the agitator, that's O'Connell, right? Primarily O'Connell, the liberator to the Irish, agitator to the English, but maybe blended with Parnell too, the doomed one with a white rose.
So HCE becomes this archetype of Irish struggle.
Exactly. And we see him, silk-coated, a walrus myriad against the dusk of Scummering.
Silk-hatted, silhouetted, with a walrus mustache.
Yep, walrus myriad, walrus plus myriad, suggests grandeur. Against Scummering, Danish for dusk, a powerful image.
And he's pointing a manslayer's gun wielder towards that overgrown lead pencil.
The gun could be metaphorical or literal. O'Connell did kill a man in a duel. The overgrown lead pencil is definitely the Wellington Monument in Phoenix Park.
Phallic symbol, imperial symbol.
Both, and slang for an erection. But the irony is it wasn't finished until after O'Connell died, so it becomes his mausoleum only later, and he's actually buried in a round tower anyway.
Layers upon layers, and the emotion. A wee dropine of grief about to silenize his jures.
A little drop of grief about to furrow, silenize from French, his cheeks, deep sadness.
And then that final image. The ghost of resignation diffused a spectral appealingness, similar to a beam of sunshine upon a coffin plate.
That directly echoes O'Connell's famous crack about Robert Peel's smile being like the silver plate on a coffin.
Yeah.
It's mournful, ironic, a final somber look, and Roland rung the bell of Ghent, symbol of liberty, adds to the solemnity.
Wow. It really does embody HCE as this enduring, tragic, but very elusive figure.
Absolutely. Symbol of struggle, symbol of tragedy.
Okay, so just as we're taking in that powerful, almost gothic image, the scene shifts again. We get this alternative, almost folksy picture.
A different mood entirely.
Right. Not older-wise. In the days of the beginning would our traveler remote, unfriended from Van Diemen's land, and so on. It feels ancient but familiar.
Let's unpack that. In the days of the beginning.
Like in the beginning, Genesis, but also Danish for building, so primordial creation, maybe building a story.
And the traveler remote, unfriended.
Straight out of Goldsmith's poem, The Traveler, puts him in that tradition of lonely wanderers. He's from Van Diemen's Land, Tasmania, exile.
And he could be a lazy skald or a maundering poet.
A Norse poet or a rambling Irish one. Storyteller either way, lifting his weary-willy eyes like the tramp character.
And looking at what? The semi-signs of his zodiac?
Yeah, but they're not stars, they're pub signs. Joyce turns the zodiac into humble signs of hospitality.
That's brilliant. What are they?
Flask-neck, maybe Aries. Cracket cup for Taurus. A downtrodden brogue. A shoe for Gemini. Turf sod for Cancer. Wild broom for Leo. Cabbage blad, maybe Virgo or Aquarius. And stockfish dried cod.
Also slang.
For Pisces.
Right.
Blends high and low, and these signs promise comfort at the Angel Pub.
Sanctuary. What kind of comfort?
The full Irish welcome. Poteen and tea and praties and baccy and wine with women worth warbling. Illicit whiskey, potatoes, tobacco, wine, women, song.
That essentials.
Pretty much. A feast for the senses after a long journey. And after all that, he might informally quasi-begin to preskezmile to quizefen.
Almost smile, almost get less than.
Exactly, hinting back at HCE's enigmatic, never quite there smile. It's a moment of real humanity, simple comfort, isn't it?
It is. A brief pause in the complexity, but then why does the narrator jump in right there, demanding answers?
Yeah, but in the pragma, what formal clause made a smile of that to think? Who was he to whom? Whose are the placewares?
Pragma, Greek for deed, act, a sudden demand for concrete reality, for the formal cause, the essence, the structure behind it all.
It's like frustration boiling over. Give me specifics.
He asks Kiwasti, Kisker, Kither, Kitnabuja, which is WWI slang. Why, which, where, what time? A desperate plea for clarity.
And maybe corrupt Finnish for it's hard to make a house a home.
Adds that layer of displacement again. Then he wonders about the location. Cornwall, Yarmouth, Wales, Herefordshire, Norfolk, Hungary.
It just dissolves into possibilities, no fixed place.
Exactly. It underlines that core theme. The facts are too few and the witnesses too untrustworthy. We just can't pin it down.
Then that bit about music and manners. The mellows yields the mode and the mode the manners.
That's Plato. The idea that the tune of society shapes people's behavior, followed by those types. Policemen, plansmen, placemen, plab. Different manners.
And then the simage. The four farther folkers for a prize of 2 peaches with Ming, Ching, and Shunny on the Lilo Lee. Who are these?
That introduces the 4, the old men who become key observers later. And the 2 peaches refers to a Confucius story about a deadly competition for scarce prizes.
Themes of rivalry, scarcity.
And that recurring 3 contestants, 2 prizes motif. 3s and 2s again. Ming, Ching, and Shunny are like generic Asian figures. And the ghouly ghost and tithes.
Confucius again, as a tithe collector.
Right, connecting him to the mundane and the spiritual, the Holy Ghost. It's a really dense passage questioning truth, origins, and the impossibility of certainty.
Which leads us perfectly to these new voices that seem to answer that demand for, well, maybe not clarity, but perspective. The 4 of them.
The Zoes, from William Blake, the 4 eternal senses or faculties.
Right, and the text says, here are the 4 of them. Hark toror of them. That toror, Irish torum for wake, plus roar. Morning and life force together.
A powerful sound. And they immediately identify themselves by region, representing the 4 provinces of Ireland.
Giving us that collective national memory. Who are they?
First, Ulster. I, says Armagh, and I'm proud of it. Self-assertive.
Then Munster. I, says Clonakilty, God help us. Echoing the famine nickname, right? Adds that note of suffering.
Exactly. Then Leinster. I, says Dean's Grange, and say nothing. More reserved, maybe secretive.
And finally, Connacht. I, says Barna, and what about it? Challenging, defiant.
4 distinct voices, and then
Hee-haw! Their donkey, the common perspective, grounding them. And it makes 5 the 4 plus the ass.
completing the 4/5 idea. And what's crucial is their memory isn't individual facts, it's a shared foundational experience.
What do they remember?
Before he fell hill, he filled heaven. A stream, outflapping streamlet, coiled, cool of her curls, fell hill, like fell ill, decline. But he filled heaven, and maybe hell too. Cosmic scale.
And the streamlet.
That's ALP, Analyphy. The river, the feminine principle, lapping water coiled around him, the constant flowing source of life.
Okay. And their own origins.
They say, we were but thermites then. Our Anthiep we sensed as a hill of Allen. The barrow foreign people, one Jotner's jail.
Thermites, like insects building mounds.
Yeah, primal builders, plus Greek thermos for heat, vital energy.
Yeah?
And maybe hermits, ancient keepers of knowledge. We is Denny, but also baby talk for urine. Very earthy.
So humble beginnings. But they see their Anthiep home as something huge.
Absolutely epic. The Hill of Allen, Finn McCool's place. The Barrow River, fundamental for the Irish people. And Jotner's jail to the giant mountains in Norway. Mythical scale.
Shows how memory elevates the ordinary.
Exactly. Connects personal history to grand narratives. And they end with this deep sensory memory. And it was a grummelung among the pork troop that wonder struck us as a thunder, yunder.
Grummelung.
German grummel and rumbling, plus maybe gremlin. A primal, powerful sound among the pork troops, the common people. It hits them like thunder.
So their collective memory isn't facts, it's a feeling, a sound.
A deep, resonant, instinctual experience. A foundational rumbling that shapes everything. It's like the birth pangs of myth and history.
Wow.
The sound of history being born.
Okay, but this brings us to a really critical point about evidence. The narrator challenges everything again.
What's the quote?
Thus, the unfacts, did we possess them, are too imprecisely few to warrant our certitude. The evidence givers by leg pole too untrustworthily irreparable, whereas adjugers are seemingly freak 3s, but his judicandy is plainly -2s.
That's a huge statement about unreliability. Unfacts. Again, not just missing facts, but misleading ones, distorted ones.
Right. And finding reliable evidence is impossible, irreparable, undiscoverable. The witnesses, the evidence givers by leg pull trying to pull your leg.
Are untrustworthy, and you can't even find them again to check.
And the judges, adjudgers, are freak threes, while the judged, judicandis, are -2s. That 3 versus 2 thing again, imbalance, maybe bias.
Definitely suggests the scales aren't even. What does this focus on unfacts mean for us trying to understand any story, historical or personal?
It feels like a radical challenge, doesn't it? Maybe certainty is just an illusion, especially about the past, about memory. Joyce seems to be saying the quest for the facts might be impossible.
Or even myth-guided.
Yep.
Despite all this uncertainty, this paucity of proof, he gives us one piece of physical evidence.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Nevertheless, Madame's Tashwell's wax is largely more lifelike, and our notional gullery is now completely complacent, an exegious monument, airily perennious.
Madame's Tasha's, Madame de Saude's waxworks.
Clearly. Lifelike, but artificial. And notional gallery sounds like National Gallery, place of high art, but also gullibility. Suggests even official places can fool us.
So the wax figure, or the idea of it, feels more real than words.
Seems so. It's an exegious monument referencing Horace, more enduring than bronze, but it's made of wax. An airily perennious, eerily perennial illusion.
And this leads to the photograph.
The actual exposure. An exposure of him by old Tom Quad, a flashback in which he sits sated, gowned about in clericalese habit, watching bland Saul slides dogsomely into the nethermore.
Old Tom Quad, Christchurch, Oxford, where Lewis Carroll lived.
Exactly. And Carroll Dodgson's the keen photographer. So it's likely a photo by Carroll.
And HCE is pictured. How?
Gowned about, wearing an academic gown, in clericalese habit, like Carroll, who was a deacon. Blurs the line.
Watching the sunset. Bland Saul slides dogsomely.
Pleasant sun, bland Saul, slithe from Karis Jabberwocky, adding fantasy. And dogsomely, a clear pun on Dodgson's name, the sun sliding into the nethermore.
It's incredibly specific yet symbolic. HCE linked to Carroll, logic, and fantasy mixed.
It is. And the photo captures this really poignant emotional detail, too.
Ah, yes. Tell us about that.
It describes a globule of Magdalness about to corrugitate his mild-dewed cheek, and the tata of a tiny Victorian, Elise, pressed by his limper looser.
Globule of Magdalness, a tear. Magdalen College, maybe?
Yeah. Suggests sentimentality, maybe regret. The tear is about to furrow, corrugitate his mild-dewed cheek, which echoes Wagner's Tristan and Isolde, mild and Lys, adds this operatic sorrow.
And the child, Alice.
Clearly, Lewis Carroll's Alice. Yeah. A tiny Victorian. Her tata, maybe a hat or just goodbye, is pressed by his limper, looser hand.
Limp hand. Weakness. Age. But also one who loosens, sets free.
Could be both.
Yeah.
It's tender, melancholic, a frozen moment of farewell maybe to innocence. It feels incredibly human, somehow more true than all the supposed facts or unfacts.
It really does. Such a contrast, this one intimate photo against all the unreliable stories. So what does a single exposure mean in the end?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? Despite the lack of proof, the text is sure of one other thing.
What's that?
That before the winter of that year, the figure of the huge outsider H.C. Earwicker had cast its shadow over the dock of 100 tribunals. He's perpetually on trial.
Acquitted here, convicted there, given benefit of clergy, or suffered swift Jedburgh justice. Punishment first, trial later, lynch law.
Exactly. Brutal, arbitrary judgment. He's always being judged, seen as both guilty as sin or as innocent as the fresh fallen calf.
Total opposites, hero and villain.
Right. His heroic shade loomed up large behind the jostling judgments of his fellow Irishmen and Irishwomen. He becomes this monumental figure, judged not just in courts, but in the chit-chat house, too. Everyday gossip is another tribunal.
And that final line, they have waved his green boughs o'er him as they have torn him limb from limb.
Wow. Triumph and destruction together, like ancient sacrifice, honored and deconstructed at the same time by the collective. It's like that primordial Finnegans Wake feast, celebrating and condemning the hero figure. HCE contains all of it.
He really does seem to encapsulate that whole human experience of being judged, remembered, mythologized. So let's bring this back home for you, our listener. Navigating today's world, the news, social media, what does this Wake passage tell us?
Well, it feels incredibly relevant, doesn't it?
It really does. It mirrors our struggle to figure out what's true in this flood of information. We get unfacts and untrustworthy sources all the time, just like the characters trying to grasp HCE.
Every story gets retold, reshaped.
By the teller, the context, by memory itself. Maybe Joyce is showing that the process of storytelling, how narratives evolve and shape us, is more important than finding some fixed fact.
Especially if that fact is unreachable anyway. makes you question everything.
Totally.
And it raises that important question about how our own minds work, doesn't it? Joyce's technique is so much like how memory actually functions. It's not a perfect recording.
No, it's fluid, recreated, full of biases, desires.
Constantly shifting. Think about your own family stories, how they change, or how history gets reinterpreted. The figures we talked about, HCE, Osiris, O'Connell, Carroll, they become these interchangeable archetypes.
The seed father, the doomed agitator.
Exactly. The facts might be shaky, but the impact, the story of these archetypes, that endures. It shapes our myths, our understanding of the world. Maybe, as Joseph Campbell said, HCE is just the life force everywhere, taking different forms.
So, are we really looking for facts, or are we looking for meaning in the stories?
That's a profound question, isn't it? And it really reframes how we engage with everything.
It really does. What an incredible journey through just 3 pages. We've seen HCE's unstable identity, the cascade of retellings, the blend of history and myth, the unfacts versus that one poignant photograph, all wrapped up in Joyce's amazing wordplay.
Challenging, but so rich. A mirror to our own complexity.
So as you go about your day, listening to stories, reading the news, maybe mull this over. In a world full of retellings, where facts can be unfacts and certainty is rare, what is the truth of a life?
And how much of our own understanding of history, identity, everything is built on these shifting narratives rather than solid ground? How do we find our footing?
A deep question indeed, very much in the spirit of the Wake. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you'll keep thinking about these themes, maybe even revisit these pages with fresh eyes.
Keep exploring, keep questioning.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep diving deep.